When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouthwatering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the vehicle owner's manual for important feature limitations and information.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to AI Scouted on Anfield Index Pro. I'm Dave Hendrick, joined as always by Mr. Karl Matthew. How are you, sir?
Sitting pretty without a goal conceded. How are you?
I am robust in my defence, bit like Liverpool. It's tremendous stuff. 3 games in, 3 wins, 7 goals scored. But I think most importantly, Karl, 0 goals conceded. Last season, for me anyway, the biggest issue with our team was how poor we were defensively. Now, there were multiple factors for that. One was obviously injuries. Trent missed a lot of games. Ibu missed a lot of games. Matip missed a ton of games. We had a rotating cast at left back, of whom only Joe Gomez was sort of consistently fit. Ali missed a bunch of games as well in goal. And then the midfield was consistently chopping and changing because of injuries as well. But the bigger factor was the structure, the decision to overload an attack and leave the defence wide open, which caused us to go behind early in an awful lot of games, which then put more pressure on the forward players to score goals because we were trying to get back into games from positions of trailing. This season, we just look a lot more assured defensively. We look a lot more composed defensively. And, 3 games in, we haven't seen Virgil have to do some sort of incredible piece of defending. We haven't seen Ibu having to do any incredible defending. They've both been outstanding, but they haven't been left exposed. And as a result of that, Alisson has not had to deal with a 1v1 yet.
Yeah, it's been very, very different defensively. I think it's the biggest positive that we've got so far by like quite some distance, because we know at some point different forwards will be going through different spells of form. Some of them will be really good. Some of them will miss 16 sitters in a row. Like the forward line, the midfield will start to play a bit better or score some goals or whatever. The set pieces will go through a period where we seem to score off every corner, all that kind of stuff. That's all variable. The defence, the setup, the shape, the positional play, how people work together and all the rest of it, that's your basis of where results come from. And having it as quite well drilled, to be perfectly honest, as it is already, is a massive, massive thing. I mean, you even look around Europe, there are not many teams. Some leagues have had 2, 3 or 4 games. Not many teams have still conceded 0 goals. I had a very brief look while we were waiting for you to come in and collect your 9 points for being late. That was Guy, by the way, who insisted that you take them. Celtic, 4 games and they haven't conceded yet. Trabzonspor in Turkey, 2 games and they haven't conceded yet, although they haven't scored either, so 0-0 and 0-0 for them. Over in Spain, nobody has kept clean sheets through their first 3 matches. Juve have done it through 3 games in Serie A, 2 wins and 1 draw. Borussia Dortmund and Heidenheim haven't conceded in Germany yet, but both of those have only played twice in League, and everybody has conceded so far after 3 games. In the Championship, obviously, as everybody has conceded after 4. In the Eredivisie, the only team who can match us is AZ Alkmaar at the minute. They've played 4 and they haven't conceded, but they've only scored 5. So I think we're doing pretty well by all European standards. Most importantly, obviously, everybody in the Premier League except for us has conceded, and everybody except for us and Man City has dropped points, and that's a big part of what we've done there defensively, and then let the attack do its thing.
Yeah, that's the thing, because by keeping that clean sheet, there's less pressure on the attack. The goal doesn't need to come as quickly. You can afford to control a game even at 0-0 and just wear the opposition down. It's one of the things we saw Arsenal do really well last season. Arsenal didn't have the level of creativity in their team that we have in ours. They don't have, like, we have Trent, we have Salah, we have Alexis, we have Diaz. We've got a lot of players that can create openings and opportunities. They are heavily reliant on Odegaard and Saka, who are outstanding players. But Odegaard is not Trent and Saka is not Mo. But they were able to wear teams down by just having so much control and so much of the ball and just moving the opposition around. And we heard Arne in one of the inside training videos, I think it was, use the phrase, kill them with passes. And what he's talking about, obviously, is killing their legs, running them out. And we saw it against Ipswich, where they ran themselves out, and then we were able to score and take control of the game. But not conceding gives you that ability to not be, to not panic and not rush things and not try and force things. Last season, we saw Liverpool at times just try and force things too much. Oftentimes, Trent was trying to force those longer balls, those clip balls over the top, because we were trying to get back into a game that we'd gone behind in because of a silly defensive mistake, or because we'd had, 3 defenders against 5 attackers and we just got overloaded. Now, it just feels like there's a much more balanced approach to this team. And it reminds me quite a bit of 18-19 and 19-20, when we had by far the best defence in the league, the best in Europe, and we were able to just wear teams down and just constantly have that pressure on them. And we knew at some point they're going to crack. At some point, one of our lads is going to create something and we're going to get a goal. And that's kind of how I feel right now watching us. We're 3 games in. There hasn't been a spell in any of the games where I've thought, we might lose here. I would argue the first half against Ipswich is the only half that wasn't comfortable for us. Because they just come up, first game, they're at home, packed house at Portman Road. It's been 20-odd years since they've been in the Premier League. They're all amped up. They come out, they fly into us. But again, it's not like they were creating chances. They were just making it very difficult for us in the middle of the park. They were making it difficult for us to find rhythm, to find the right pass. And we were dealing with it, but we were comfortably in control. Second half against Ipswich, both halves against Brentford and both halves against United, I've just felt this calmness off the team because they're in control and they're not leaving themselves exposed in any state.
Do you know, I would even put that I'd say in reverse almost into what you're saying now. Not like we didn't feel like at any point we were going to lose the game, but that we weren't going to lose control, which I think is just as important. Like, yes, loads of times last season, and actually for a couple of seasons now, if we're being honest, Liverpool went behind and we had to come from behind to get the points. But also quite a few times in the latter half of last season, we went back to what we'd done previously, in that when we were ahead, when we were 2-1 up or 1-0 up or even a couple of goals ahead at some times, we still didn't really have that control of the centre of the pitch. And it always felt as though the other team were going to have a 15-minute spell. And if they scored in that, we were vulnerable. Like, they were capable of scoring or creating the chances to score a couple of times against us. Like Man United, we gifted them one of the goals, fine, but we were ahead in that game last season and pretty comfortable and pretty much in control and all the rest of it. And then they scored twice and we were behind. It was a similar story for a while in the home game against Sheffield United. Like, we battered them and we kept giving them chances down the side. And I think, was it Bradley's own goal in that game? And it looked for a while like they were going to overrun us and go ahead. There were periods in other games we went behind twice against Luton. There was it West Ham? No, Aston Villa maybe came from 2 goals down late in the season and brought it back to 3-3. I think it was in the end, something like that. Like, that spell in matches hasn't really happened. Maybe it will at some point. Even that, actually, we were 4-0 up against Spurs and they got it back to 4-2, and it looked like they could even get it back to 4-3. That was near the end of the season as well, wasn't it? We haven't had any periods in matches so far where we've lacked that, not domination of play, but control of where the game is played. That's the important thing. That's the big difference in the positional play at the midfield so far, in that we have not just domination of the ball, but absolute control of the territory the game is played in. And that's what's really, I think, led to Ali being, I'm not going to say underworked, because he still had a few bits and pieces to do, but certainly it's less than he would have been accustomed to last year.
Yeah, and what I really like is the manager coming out and basically being livid that Ali's even having to make those saves. Like, he has openly said the idea here is that Alisson is only there to be part of the build-up. We don't want him having to make a ton of saves. We don't want him having to do a ton of work. We want him to just be there to be, like, helping us with our build-up. And it's obviously not something that can happen, because that's just not how football works. But it shows the standards that he's setting for this team. And I think that's such a positive. And just to emphasize what you've just said about us either going behind or giving up leads or, falling behind in games. Bournemouth at home, second game of the season, they score after 3 minutes. Like, unacceptable. Newcastle away, they go ahead after 25 minutes. Wolves away, they go ahead after 7 minutes. We played Brighton away. They went ahead after 20 minutes. We then go ahead and then we give up an equaliser. Luton, we go behind. Luton, of all teams, dreadful. Man City
against Luton in both games.
In both games. Man City went ahead of us after 27 minutes. Fulham, we're 2-1 up at home. We score first, they score, we score again. And then we find ourselves 3-2 down at home against Fulham. We went behind away to Crystal Palace. We went behind against Arsenal at home after 4 minutes. Like, these type of things went on and on and on throughout the season. And it was almost like the coaching staff made no attempt to correct it. Almost arrogant in the belief that, well, we've just got better players than them. And that is true of most teams. We do just have better players than them. Which is why we said all last season, the floor for this team is third. Because there's only one team better than us, which is Man City. And the only team we thought maybe could finish above us was Arsenal. But neither of us believed that they would. But the primary reason they did was ourselves. And a lot of the stupid points that we dropped last year. Now, look, there was other factors, the refereeing decisions that went against us, the injuries, etc., etc. But even when we had injuries, and we had different players coming into the team, we continued to play the same way. Like, Trent got hurt, so you would think logically, right, you no longer have this unicorn of a fullback.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
At BlueNile.com, you can find endless ways to make your moments sparkle. From classic and timeless jewelry gifts to creating the custom engagement ring of her dreams, all at prices you won't find at a traditional jeweler. And right now, you can save up to 40% on fine jewelry and 25% on engagement ring settings during the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale, going on now. Go to BlueNile.com to shop the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale and save up to 40%. That's BlueNile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Microsoft Azure. Turn your ideas into reality with an Azure free account. Get everything you need to develop apps across cloud and hybrid environments, scale workloads, create cloud-connected mobile experiences, and so much more. Discover what you can create with popular services free for 12 months. Learn more at azure.com. That's AZURE.com. And sign up for a free account to start building in the cloud today.
So let's stop with the inverting into midfield thing. Let's play a more traditional right back. Let's not have Ibu or Kwanzaa or Matip or whoever's playing right side centre back having to defend both their position and the right back position. Let's have solidity there. But instead, Conor Bradley comes in and we have him wandering around in midfield, where he doesn't offer the same on-ball quality that Trent does. And in actuality, you're taking away the on-ball quality that Conor Bradley does have, which is in wide areas. It's his ability to do what Robbo does, to get it, give it, burst down the wing, get it again and get it in the box. Or to cut inside and get a shot away.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. Ha. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
There's where Conor Bradley adds you real value in wide positions. But because Pep and Lindos was so obsessed with this inverted fullback thing that he thought he'd invented, we end up wasting Conor Bradley for large chunks of game in midfield and leaving ourselves wide open defensively. This season with Arna, we do see Trent come in field at times, but we see him spend more time out wide as a traditional fullback. We're seeing Trent through 3 games, I think anyway, be much better defensively than he was last season or the season before. And as a result of that, Ibu's not having to defend both positions, and Ibu has been monstrously good, highlighted by the fact that he got in a 1v1 situation with Marcus Rashford at the weekend, and Rashford soiled himself, turned around and played the ball backwards, because he wanted no part of Ibu. We're seeing Virgil just casually drop 8 out of 10 performances without breaking sweat. It's little wonder Troy Deeney said he smells nice. The guy hasn't sweated in years, other than last year. But he's still the best defender in the league. We just have much more control and much more composure this year. And it feels like there's more purpose as well. Like, nobody's trying to claim that Arne Slot is a better manager than Jurgen Klopp. That's not a conversation that can be had for many years. But Arne might be a better coach than Pep and Linders, and in all likelihood is a better coach than Pep and Linders. And that's what we're seeing reflected on the pitch, because Jurgen wasn't taking training the last couple of years. It wasn't Jurgen's ideas been put into practice. It was Jurgen's philosophy, but with Pep and Linders' ideas. And Linders was very open about the fact that Trent into midfield and the street football final third approach was all him. He said it publicly in interviews. So we don't need Arne to be a better manager than Jurgen. We need him to be a better coach than Linders, and the early signs are that he is.
So let's turn that around slightly, because like you say, we're not trying to sort of compare model to model here or saying that he's better or anything of the sort. Which areas have you seen so far where within the framework we've now got, we think there's still room for improvement? Like, because I've had a few people obviously text me and messaging me and say, oh, Gravenberch, really, really good, blah, blah, blah. And my response has kind of been the same to all of them. Like, he hasn't actually played a very good midfield yet. Like, I know Man United are a big team, big name, big money players in there, blah, blah, blah. The midfield's shocking. It's an absolute disgrace the way that midfield still shapes up at this point. And it's an embarrassment to everyone associated with that club that the manager, the head coach, is still allowed to say, new team, new situation, new environment, blah, 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 blah. You've been there 3 years. You've just been absolutely wiped clean by midfield put together in the manager's third game.
Yeah.
That said, step aside from the Champions League just for 1 minute, because we will discuss that separately in a minute. The next midfields will play are Forest, Bournemouth, West Ham, Wolves. I'm not overly convinced that there is a dramatic step up in midfielders that we'll face domestically up until October starts, basically. So there is still time for that to, be shown that it's not quite as effective or as good as it appears to have been in the first few games. There is still time for it to need to improve and get time to improve. But after that, when we play Palace, Chelsea, Arsenal, Brighton, Villa, all in a row, I think that's a much, much stronger set of midfields that we'll face than we've had to face so far this term, and indeed will do in September.
Yeah, look, without question, you look at the Ipswich midfield that started against us, and it was largely the same midfield they'd had in League One. It was certainly their midfield in the Championship. We look at the Brentford team we played, that's the midfield they had in the Championship. They're solid players, they're well organised, they work really hard for the team, and they do have quality on the ball, but they're not an elite midfield. United have, I think, one elite player in midfield in Bruno, one promising but very, very overrated midfielder in Kobbie Mainoo, and a formerly great midfielder who's now a shell of himself in Casemiro. Also, the idea that that's a new midfield is nonsense, because that's the midfield they had for much of last season, and all of them have been at the club for the entire tenure of this manager, because he bought Casemiro in his first summer, Mainoo was in the academy, and Bruno was there before him from Ollie's time. But they're not a good midfield. It's not a midfield that works well. There's no balance to their midfield, and certainly there was no setup for their midfield that was going to hurt us. I highlighted this on Raw. Go back and watch the first half and watch where Kobbie Mainoo was playing, because he had been told to press high on the left side of the midfield. Why? Because Erik ten Hag expected that Ryan Gravenberch would be our sixth and that he would be the first receiver. And he knew he's not comfortable turning with pressure on him. So just press him high and force him back. That's the plan. Let's press him high, force him back. If he tries to turn, Mainoo, to his credit, is excellent at nicking the ball away from people. So he does try and turn, you're there to nick the ball off him, but otherwise just press him and force him back. Because against Brentford, every time he was pressed, he just played it backwards or sideways. We didn't play our midfield that way. Gravenberch played higher. Alexis played the deepest role. On the left-hand side of the midfield, moving central. It took 37 minutes for Erik ten Hag to realise this isn't working because they are not doing what I thought they were going to do. Arne Slot figured out before the game what they were going to try and do and changed it. So Gravenberch played as an 8 and McAllister played as the 6. And it worked brilliantly for us. And by the time they changed it, we were already 1-up. Then we score again. Then he takes Casemiro off at half-time, and all of a sudden Mainoo's now playing more as their 6 than as an 8. And young Collier comes on. And to his credit, he ran around and he tried to get himself involved, but he wasn't very effective. That's not a well-coached midfield. It's not a well-balanced midfield. And like I said, with Casemiro and Mainoo, you're talking about one player that's well past his best and one player that's not nearly as good as people make him out to be. Forest potentially could have a good midfield in Sangaré and Danilo, but Danilo is now out, and the players coming in instead of him are not as good. I do quite like some of the players they have, but Elliot Anderson is still very young and trying to learn how to play in midfield because he's mostly been an attacking midfielder or a wide player. Bournemouth will be missing Tyler Adams. So both the next two teams we'll play are missing their best midfielder, Danilo and Adams. So they won't be tests really either because they're going to be playing diminished midfields. Wolves away, Lemina's a really good ball winner, and he shields the defence quite well. João Gomes shows a lot of promise as like a roving ball winner, but neither of them offer a ton on the ball, so they're not going to test you defensively through the middle. They're going to try and get it wide, get it forward, and get it into the box. It's just what they do. So none of those three should really provide too much of a test, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because what we're actually looking for with Gravenberch is consistency. Can you just consistently put in good performances? Now, he had a poor first half against Ipswich and a very good second half. Against Brentford, I thought he was okay. People tried to hype it up. He was just okay. There was one or two really nice moments. One where he spun into space and carried the ball, and another where he played a lovely left-footed ball around the corner. But all of the things people have been highlighting him doing are not the actions of a number 6, they're the actions of a number 8. And against United, he was outright playing as an 8. So that was an outstanding first half he had against United. Easily the best half he's had in a Liverpool shirt. And overall, it was his best game for us. But it was as an 8. So this idea of him as the answer at 6, we're yet to see any real evidence of it because the stuff he's doing, they're what you want an 8 doing. And like you said, we're not playing good midfield, and we won't for the next 3 games. Palace away will be a test because Wharton is outstanding. And in all likelihood, by then, Doucouré should be up to speed. And if he's starting in next to Wharton, that's a really, really good midfield. That's a much better midfield pairing than United have. It's also possible that they play Eze as a 10 in that game, with Nketiah and Mateta as a front 2. That all of a sudden, Doucouré, Wharton, Eze becomes, in my opinion, one of the best midfield trios in the league. If Doucouré is back to being the player he was pre-injury, that's a big test. And then, like you said, Chelsea, Arsenal, Brighton, and Aston Villa. Now, Chelsea, the names are impressive. The midfield, as yet, is not impressive because Enzo and Caicedo has not worked. The 10 situation, Cole Palmer there is fine, but Nkunku's been inconsistent, so it depends on who's there, but they have to get the balance right in the other two. That's going to be a much tougher test for us from the 5th of October through to the 9th of November. 5 league games with an international break in between. That's the test for us. That's the test for Gravenberch. Can you perform consistently through that run of games? That'll bring us 11 games played in the Premier League. It's less than a third of the season. Can you show that you can play at a consistent level for a third of the season? Now, you mentioned areas that I think we can improve. I still think there's a slight issue with us getting played through. And there was a couple of moments in that United game, particularly first half, when the game got kind of messy before we scored the first goal, where they did manage to pop it through our press and got Mainu on the ball turning, or Bruno on the ball turning, with space in front of them, and our players having to chase back. And Alexis kind of sat centrally, having to step across to one of them, but with space left either side of him. That's something that needs to be addressed, because better teams will punish you if they get into those positions, but it's 3 games in. You don't expect it to be flawless by this point. Like, this is the very early days of what he's trying to implement. Mikel Arteta is in, I believe, stage 5 of implementing his plan at Arsenal, which just seems to be to get more and more centre-backs on the pitch. I think Arne has done an incredible job implementing his ideas to this level already.
It's also to point out, you can't stop every type of attack every single game.
No, exactly.
There's always going to be a spell that they have possession in, or there's going to be a way that they get behind your defence. Whatever way you set up, the nature of the game, the nature of how many people are on the pitch, means there will be a space elsewhere. It's up to the other teams to try and exploit that. So, even if we reach as close to tactical perfection as we can, we'll still concede chances and we'll still be played through in one manner or another. Like we will. There's never been a team which can simply go and beat everybody every single game and never concede a goal. That's just not how sport, let alone football, works. So, very, very, very good start, but there's always room to stuff to improve, and all coaches themselves will say that.
Oh, 100%. Like, there's no such thing as perfection in sport. There's no such thing. Even you look at, say, the Miami Dolphins team that went 16-0 and won the Super Bowl. But, they still conceded touchdowns all season long. The college football teams, like Michigan last year, won the college football playoff. They went 15-0 across the season. They still conceded touchdowns across the season. There was moments when they were breached. The greatest football teams we've ever seen. You're talking Pep Guardiola's Barca. You're talking Saki's Milan. You're talking the Spain team from 08 to 12. You're talking Gustav Sebes and the Hungarian team in the 50s. Like, these incredible teams across history from then to now, they've dominated. They've won everything. They've won far more games than they haven't won, but yet there's still games they haven't won. There's still games they've drawn. There's still games they've lost. The Arsenal Invincible team, everybody likes to bring that up. Oh, well, we went invincible. It's the perfect league season. But you drew 12 games. So it wasn't perfect. Yes, you didn't lose, but you still conceded goals. And there were still 12 games you didn't win. So while, yes, you accomplished an incredible feat by not getting defeated, if you had that now, 26 wins, 12 draws, you might not win the league. Like, we've seen a bunch of seasons recently where that would not have won the league. That points total. So there's just no such thing as perfection. Like, 90 points is not winning you the league every year now. And that's just the unfortunate truth of it. So, yeah, like we say, there's no point in demanding perfection, but you can certainly aim for it and get as close as you possibly can, which is what that Arsenal team did.
Any other areas outside of our midfield and playing through then? Any build-up things, any individuals you want to talk about who you think have got a bit higher to go? Or maybe that our work so far is not getting the use out of them, maybe it's not down to them individually?
I think if you look at the team, I think Trent has played well. I think he's had 3 good games. I still think there's more to come from him. I still think he's capable of better because we've seen him play better. I think Ibu and Virgil are playing outstandingly well, but we know that there's more there from Virgil if we need it. The same with Ali. If we need it, there's more there. The left-back situation concerns me, but I did think Robbo, to his credit, handled Garnacho really, really well. Thought he struggled a bit against Diallo when he came on. I thought Costas actually did a little bit better against Diallo when that swap was made. Alexis, I think he's been outstanding. I saw a bunch of people talking on Twitter last night and criticising him. And I just think these people should stop watching the game because they clearly have no idea what's happening in front of them. Gravenberch has been the best he's been since joining the club, but we need to see it more consistently, and we need to see it for full stretches of games. Like even against United, there was a notable drop-off from first half to second half. Maybe that's just a cardio thing, so that's something that can be built up with more and more game time. Obviously, he was at the Euros, so he didn't get the full pre-season. He didn't play at the Euros, which, you know, Koeman. But there's definitely improvements to come from him. I think Szoboszlai's been outstanding, but I would say I think there's a lot more to come from him in terms of a goal threat. Yeah. Like, he passed up 2 goal chances against United. One in the first half when he was breaking to the edge of their box, nobody in front of him, on his left foot, you're screaming at him to let fly. And then obviously the one in the second half where he just tries to get far too clever, just hit it first time down. Just put it in the net. The ball's been rolled to you. You're 7 yards out. You've got time and space. Just put your foot through it. So there's definitely more goal threat to come from him. I think Mo's been incredible. I think Diaz has been really good. Really, really good. But funnily enough, I thought he played better against Ipswich than he did against United. But he got 2 goals against United and 1 man of the match. And he got chastised for his Ipswich performance because he missed a sitter.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.